Hello, everyone. It is Sunday morning, and I thought I would check in with you. Forgive the messiness. I just woke up not that long ago, and I did some stretching because my body was really tight. Because yesterday I decided I was going to do like a good workout. So I did the Jane Fonda original 80s workout. It is an intense workout. So my body is feeling it, and I did some stretching uh, to loosen up all those muscles that I've been building yesterday. I started doing the Jane Fonda workout in the pandemic, and it's a really good workout, but it's very time consuming, so I kind of stopped doing it for a while. But I think I might get back into doing it every now and again when I feel like I need a good workout. Right, so this week was really fun. I managed to do a lot of looking into different areas of research to narrow down what I want to do for my dissertation. I have figured it out. I have confirmed this with my supervisor. All of that is sorted. So I'm feeling really good about that. So the topic that I've landed on is looking into omega-3 supplementation with surgical and sepsis patients. So 11 years ago, I had intestinal surgery, and I actually had two intestinal surgeries because after the first one, I went septic, and they actually had to go in and sew me back up properly because it did not go well. So for me, that was really what kickstarted my huge interest in nutrition. I mean, I was always interested in nutrition to some degree in terms of, leading a healthy lifestyle and all that kind of stuff. But it really wasn't as important to me as it became until those surgeries. So when I started studying nutrition, it was really like all kind of stemming from that place of having recovered from surgery. So I think it's just really a beautiful full circle moment to be working on looking at how to improve treatment for surgical patients to prevent the development of sepsis. And omega-3 supplementation has some really great evidence that I've already been able to find to support it. And I'm curious to see what other stuff is out there and how I can develop that field a little bit more. Right, so I've got my dissertation topic. It's hugely relevant to my life, and that's exciting. I have huge intrinsic motivation to really go for it. So that's really nice having that direction. I'm almost done. I basically finished the essay that I had to write, and it's due tomorrow. So I'm just going to like go over it again and make sure that everything's okay before I submit it. But everything should be good. And I've got some more school stuff to be doing. But I thought maybe I would talk a little bit more about other things that happened this week. So Thursday, I went to this queer coffee meetup, which happens once a month. So Thursday morning up into the afternoon. And it's not too far from where I live. So I went to it. I had been once before, but it had been several months since I went, just because life has been a lot, and I just couldn't be bothered to go. But I did go this week, and it was really nice. I had a wonderful time. I met new people. We had really great conversations. I got like really, really deeply connected with someone very quickly, where I think because of some neurodivergencies, there was a lot of like desire to have like close contact, which is kind of opposite for some neurodivergencies. But for this person, they really wanted to like be in physical contact with me while we were talking. So we ended up like going to a couch and just kind of like sitting, holding each other's hands, and talking about deep, real things, which was lovely. And I had other wonderful conversations with people while I was there. And it's a really great event. I'm really glad that the organizer who puts it on is as dedicated as they are to like keeping it going. So it's a really great experience. And it was especially great because the night before was Queer Pack and I didn't feel quite up to going to it. So I didn't, but I still wanted to have that like experience of socializing with people. And so I was really happy that I could do that during the day when I have energy and, the desire to be connecting with people. Yeah, so that was Thursday. And then I came home and did a whole bunch of work. And, it's amazing how when you take a break and you go out and socialize or, enjoy parks or just take yourself out and take yourself for a break. It's so nice. And then you feel so much more able to sit down and do the work that you need to get done. If I don't take breaks, I find that I can't get to work and then I'm just wasting time. I'm not enjoying myself and I'm also not getting work done. Whereas if I just went out and enjoyed myself, then I'd be able to come back and get some work done. So learning that has been like a long time learning that, really. Like I've been learning that lesson for a long time and learning how to put it into practice for a long time. And I feel like I'm getting much better at being able to tell when I need to take a break and actually doing it so that I can then be more productive. Right, so I had a really great hangout on Thursday morning. There I was also told about this podcast called the White Pube Podcast. And at first, my initial assumption was that this was going to be older feminists who have white hairs and are like talking about their sexuality, like feminists of like the 60s, 70s, maybe up until the 90s, really, era of feminists. Really talking about their sexuality and being proud of their age and their wisdom. That was my assumption about the White Pube Podcast. That's not the case. These are people who are younger than I am, I think. Like, I've only listened to really, like, 2 of their episodes so far, and one of them was very short. The 2 most recent ones. There's Show Pony, and then there's this sort of dystopian fiction with regards to the art world and art as industry. So that was really interesting. I'm glad that I was exposed to that, but also it makes me think of, so there's this idea that I've become increasingly more interested in, which is looking at creativity and the creation of fictional works of art and pieces of writing as sort of like spell casting in a way. And the reason that this has been an idea that's come up for me, so historically, when I was a kid, I got really into paganism and Wicca because, growing up in the 90s. And that really stuck with me. I mean, I was not really interested in Wicca. That was a very short-lived interest. But nature-based religions, paganism generally, and that sort of element of magic was really compelling to me, and I stuck with that and sort of explored that in different ways in my own way throughout my life, and just sort of figuring out like why do we have this fascination with magic? Why do we have this fascination with being able to change our worlds in these radical ways? And as I explored different things, I learned a lot in this, and it's continued to be an interest of mine. So during the pandemic, I saw this video on YouTube of Grant Morrison. I think that's his name. He like made a bunch of comic books and stuff and is like well known in that sort of like sci-fi reality genre. He was speaking about sigils and specifically creating sigils, which is sort of like an image that serves as like a sort of magical symbol. You know, you imbue meaning into this symbol, and that becomes a way of sort of manifesting a reality. And I didn't really know much about sigils, but I thought it was kind of interesting, so I listened to it. And he largely spoke about how he would write these comic books, and as he was writing, the more he wrote about, the more he started to see the things that he was writing about coming up into his life. And, you know, he would write very specific things, and those very specific things then came into his life. And I thought that that was really interesting. And I didn't really like develop that idea too much further, but it was definitely interesting. And then fast forward a bit of time, a couple years, I watched a video, and I watched this video I think a couple times, of Alan Moore talking about writing as a form of spell casting, as a form of creating magic. And he's also a writer. And he was talking about how, like, that's why it's called spelling. When you're spelling words, that's what that is. And he was coming more from a sort of historical perspective. But it really sort of like illuminated this topic for me a little bit more. And over the years, as I've become more interested in magic and, you know, what is possible, what isn't possible, there have been times where I've written things down and exactly what I wrote down comes into being. I don't know if this is cause and effect, or if this is just priming your brain to notice certain things and then you behave, you know, sort of these self-fulfilling prophecies. Who knows the mechanism for how these things work, but they do seem to work. So there, I guess one thing that I got from my science background is that there is a difference between predictability and explanation. You know, you can do an experiment and be able to say reliably, when this happens, then this happens. But you can't necessarily get at, you know, why that's happening. You might be able to, but these are different things. And there comes a point where it doesn't really matter why, it doesn't really matter how, if you're able to get the reliable result from doing the thing, what more do you need? The issue comes when you want to start manipulating that process. You have to understand what the process is in order to manipulate it. So that's where, and it's also just interesting to understand why things happen. So there does seem to be like this whole writing things down somehow brings things into being. This is a phenomenon that many people have noticed, and I'm not the first person to notice this. So given that I don't know the mechanism of action, there are a few theories. Listening to a very disturbing dystopian story of the creative industries becoming so corporatized, and, you know, I mean, it's already happening. It's already here. There's a reason that this dystopian fiction was written. But it was painting a more extreme version of what currently exists. And I wonder to what degree creating that fiction will then enable that reality to come to pass. So that was a thing that was buzzing in my brain. And yesterday I woke up, it was a beautiful sunny day, kind of like this morning, and I had lots of energy. I made my like green smoothie. I did my Jane Fonda workout. I, you know, had a shower. I cleaned in the apartment for a little bit, and I thought, like, I'm gonna go out, have a really great time. So I went to the V&A, and that's a museum in London that has a lot of things. It kind of reminds me of the Musée Beaux-Arts in Montreal. So I went to the V&A, and immediately the very first thing that I see when I get in there is this exhibit on Buddhism. And so there's all of these statues of various Buddhist deities. And so I explored that for a little bit. There's a lot of like ceramics and glass, and it's very like design oriented to a large degree. And then there's also an element of like deep history. So there's like downstairs was really cool. There was like this mirrored room from, gosh, I want to say like the 1700s. I don't know. I forget. I saw a lot of things. I saw a lot of dates. I don't remember them all. But it was really cool, the downstairs with like the mirrored room, and they had like this beautiful like bed made for like married couples, that was kind of just like a big couch bed kind of thing. Like it had sort of like these like pillows along the side, and honestly it kind of looked like too small to really like comfortably sleep in. It definitely is not made for tall people, but it was really nice. It had like curtains, and it was very pretty. There were also lots of like old instruments, harpsichords and hurdy-gurdies and lutes and things. The glass exhibit, like that area, was really cool. It was kind of like cheesy in a way, because they had the way that their staircase had like glass sort of stacked up along the side of the staircase to hold on to. And there was a lot of like mirrors everywhere, and it looked like it must have been designed in like the 80s or early 2000s. I'm not sure, because those don't overlap that much, but like the level of cheese, I guess, it could be either one. But it was really cool. I actually ended up being really gravitated towards this glassware from the Roman times, and I was just like, there's no way that these are that old. But they were really cool. They had like rainbow sort of effect on them. I'm not sure what exactly gave them that rainbow effect, but it was really cool, and I really liked it. I thought like, oh, I need to get me some Roman glassware. And same, like ceramics were also really cool. I realized that I really like a lot of ceramics that are from China in the 1400s. Seems to be whenever I went to a piece that I thought like, oh man, that's really nice, and I would totally have that in my home. It was like China 1400. Like, oh, okay, cool. And as I walked around the museum, first of all, like the building is gorgeous. There's like huge staircases, incredible architecture within just the building itself. And then there was like a lot of like historical artifacts from Greeks, Romans, like just all of that kind of stuff, and Middle Ages, Renaissance. I looked through, they had like this jewelry room that was really cool. Everything was like black with like, lights shining down on all the jewelry, so it was very like glittery and pretty. I saw, what was it? Inrose? Something like that. They were little like boxes that Japanese men would carry on their sort of like sash, because the kimonos didn't have pockets, so they would have these little, I think they were inros or inru or something like that. IN was definitely the first two letters. But there were these really like ornate boxes that would like dangle from your sash. I took a picture of a few of them. The ones from like the 1920s were really nice. As I went through the whole museum, a lot of the things that I was like really gravitating towards were things from the 1920s. I also walked through these set of doors, and then suddenly I could hear this music, and I thought, wow, this music sounds amazing. Where is it coming from? And as I wandered through this really great large hall with tapestries everywhere that was like basically empty, except for the other side, I could see that there was like a screen division set up and a bunch of people were there. And that was where the music was coming from. So I went over there and I discovered that because it was record store day yesterday, the V&A had this like record listening party. So people came and brought records that they had bought that day, and we just kind of like sat and listened to them. So that was really cool. Though there was this one album that I wish that I knew what it was, because when I was listening to it, I was just like, wow, I really like this, and I could see myself really getting into this and listening to this more. It sounded like a cross between like the Beach Boys and the Beatles, but with like the same kind of level of, like, there was a lot of reverb. It sounded very distant. So it kind of reminded me of like Timber Timbre. So it was like, that was like the cross influences in my mind that came up. And I thought that I had gotten the right lyrics, but it was like, because it was so distant, it was like really hard to like hear what was actually being said. But it was something about like last night. Like last night was the thing that kept repeating. It was like last night and then da da da, last night, da da da, last night. Something about a song. I thought I had gotten the right lyrics to like find it later. And I hadn't, because I was sitting in the environment listening with other people, I wasn't going to like play a video to check to make sure that it was the right song. I thought that I had found it, and then later on when I tried to listen to it, I was like, this is not the same thing at all. This is like country music. And it's not even the same genre. So I still don't know what I was listening to yesterday, but it was really great and I liked it. There was also a like fashion exhibition through the ages, and it was like high couture kind of fashion. And I was really drawn to that because last night I decided to watch The Devil Wears Prada, which is an interesting movie. I'm shocked that it was from 2006 and it aged so poorly. Like the underlying beliefs and values that are perpetuated through that movie, and the ways that the characters were portrayed. Like, I enjoyed the high fashion fun of the movie. There, like the aesthetics of the movie. I love Glenn Close. There's a lot to love about the movie, but there is also a lot of like, just, you know, the relationship dynamics of like how the characters were acting, and like the kinds of values that they were just perpetuating was really disheartening to see. But the high fashion stuff, that was kind of interesting. And kind of like glamour, fun, whatever. Like high fashion sucks, but also nostalgia and like, you know, glamour being what it is. It's kind of, I don't know, it's fun to indulge in a little bit every now and again. I don't think I would want to perpetuate what high fashion is all about, but yeah, it was fun looking into the glamour and stuff of those outfits. And again, the 1920s, the clothes from the 1920s were like really beautiful and stuff that I would totally wear. So after going to the museum, I biked around for a little while, and I ended up going to Hyde Park, and it was so packed. There were so many people, and the whole place smelled like weed. And I actually forgot that it was 420 yesterday until today. This morning when I was like, oh, that's why the park was full of people smoking weed. I thought maybe this is what happens on Saturdays in Hyde Park. I thought like, wow, London is like different than what I was what I thought it was. Like I didn't think it was quite this extreme with parties, um, and like that whole culture. But no, it was because it was 420. And I was actually um, I was chewing some CBD gum, so I was kind of celebrating in my own way. And I went to the park and I read a little bit more of Kay Tempest, The Bricks That Built the House. Yeah, so I read in the park for a bit, and then I came back home, and yeah, that was my yesterday. So yeah, fun times, all is well. I hope that you are enjoying your spring. I hope you had a good 420 if that's what you celebrate. And I'm going to go back to doing some more work. I've got lots of work to do. So I'm going to go do it. And I hope you're doing well. Take care. Bye.